Promare is a super great anime movie, but why isn't it a super great anime video game? There are so many great anime video games like, Elden Ring. Okay, I don't know how to bridge topics every time, but this is going to be a good one, trust me. On my quest to find the most fun build in Elden Ring, I decided to take a run at the game as Leofotia, the Burnish Flame of Promare. If you want to watch me do these runs live, follow me on Twitch. We're already in the middle of the run for next week, and it's going poorly, so watch me suffer! I'll start off by making sure that Leo looks just right. Bowl cut, piercing eyes, and a tiny little nose. Nailed it. We're starting off as a prophet because they have the most faith. That's important for fire. Killing the grafted scion doesn't matter for fire, so I just cowabunga. Hopping into Limgrave, we grab the crafting kit, touch the grace, but forget to talk to Melina. How could I do that? Melina is our best friend. I would never do anything to jeopardize that friendship. She'll give us our fire motorcycle that looks like a horse, and then we can grab the whetstone to put Ashes of War on the weapon. That we'll get later. Then we boogie down to the Weeping Peninsula, grabbing a stone sword key for later and talk to Irina. Her dad's castle is overrun with monsters. She's so worried about him. That's so sad. I'm sure the story won't get sadder. We'll go help out in a bit. First though, we need to head towards Lernia, picking up a stone sword key on the way, then find 2 fingers in a hole. And a grape. Weird. Pop that in the pocket for now. Stopping at a grace, Melina comes by and invites us to her house. That sounds fun. Big best friend energy. But I needed the blood flame blade from a teardrop scarab in Lernia, so I head back and kill the wrong bug accidentally. I did not notice right away. Before I realize my mistake, I head into the Death Touch catacombs for the Uchi Katana. It's the closest option for Leo's sword and just also happens to be really, really good. It has bleed. Bleed is pretty busted. It's fun. Then I head to the Third Church of America for a physic flask and warp through the gate behind it to go to Grail. We head across the bridge and grab some runes from a grave. Grave robbing isn't nice, but it is really effective. There's even more runes inside Fort Fair, as well as part of the Dectus medallion, which will let us ride up an elevator to Altus eventually, if we grab the other piece. I usually go through the rune-strewn precipice for that, but there's also the Radigan Sword Seal in here. I don't use that this run either, so really just here for the runes, I guess. This is where I realized I didn't have the Blood Flame Blade, so I head back to Lernia, kill the right bug. Plenty of people are making Elden Ring videos where they're good at the game. Isn't it nice to finally watch someone who isn't? After grabbing the pickle from Limgrave, I'm ready to slap that dragon booty. The Blood Flame Blade adds fire damage and bleed to a weapon. The katana already has bleed, so that's more bleeding and much faster dragon spanking. While in the area, I also grab a Somber Stone 9 and a Somber Stone 8 from a dung beetle. Lots of dung beetles so far. We haven't even fought a boss, just a bunch of bugs that run away. I feel like I'm losing my mind here. Back in the Weeping Peninsula, I grab another quick little fire spell called the Flame of Frenzy. The Frenzied Flame in Elden Ring is an extra-dimensional god that talks to people, gives them fire, and encourages them to burn stuff. It's pretty much 1-for-1 with the Promare. I love it for that. At Castle Morn, we find Irina's dad and try to deliver the message, but they must have changed the button in a patch or something.
You press L1 to deliver the letter, right? Wait. Let me try it again.
Whoops, little mistake. Maybe if I reload the area, he'll be okay and I could try again? No, he turned into a grape. Punky. I guess let's just make a complete meal. Grapes are good, but they go great with pickles. So let's bully Nerd Juice and give Yura a sneak peek of what his future looks like. Hey Yura, you like this spell? You want to use a cool spell like this? Huh? Beating Nerd Juice opens up the cave to battle Patches, and I don't kill him like Edgar, which means we can come back to buy pickles and a recipe for pickles. Now to go fight a dragon, because if I want a dragon spell later, I gotta kill a dragon first. This is the Dragon Agil. It's the most basic dragon that could ever dragon. It flies, claws, bites, fire breaths. Sometimes it'll fly onto some weird geometry, and that's annoying. Also, apparently its fire stuns you, so you get hit by the fire again. That's not fun. Second try, we stance break him and unleash the Flame of Frenzy when he's stunned. It's a really great strategy. It's something we're going to be doing a lot. Let's go get something to make stance breaks easier. That's the Flame of the Redmanes, which we used in the Tanjiro run, sure, but it's a big wall of fire. I can use it on the Fireman character. I can even boost its power with the spell Flame Grant Me Strength. It increases our fire damage and physical damage by 20% for 30 seconds. It's really good if you use fire, or physical, especially both. At this point, I want a friend, so let's go grab Gallo. He's in the Murkwater Catacombs, honestly maybe my favorite catacombs in the game. It's got an awesome puzzle where you walk forward, grab a lever, then walk through a door, and you're in a boss fight with the absolute Giga Chad, the Grave Warden Duelist. He starts the fight by throwing off his robe, and his whole strategy is, I'm gonna hit you with hammers. Love this dude. I was so distracted by his swagger, I got inflicted with madness. Oh, did I not talk about madness yet? It's a funny thing about the spells we're using. Every time you use a Frenzied Flame spell, you slowly build up a status called madness. When it finally pops, it's going to deal 15% plus 100 damage to your HP, and drains you of 15% plus 30 of your focus. It's a very steep penalty for spells that are, honestly, only okay, at least for now. I'm able to recover though and get the win. He drops the Spirit Ashes we're going to use later for Gallo. After a quick detour to Lernia for the Dexterity Physic tier, that's plus 10 Dexterity for 3 minutes, we go to the Fringe Folk Hero's Grave that's right at the beginning of the game. Like, before the elevator you take up to Limgrave beginning. This is one of my least favorite dungeons. It's got death chariots. If you avoid them, you get ganked by ghosts. Starting again. I make it all the way to this Wind Knight, but I got Madness again and then comboed to death. Madness is so fun, gang. Eventually I make my way back and slay the knight for the Dragon Communion Seal. It boosts dragon incantations and scales with arcane a little bit. It's the best we can do for a seal until we go to an even worse area later. This run really gets to tour the sewers of the lands between. It's also upgraded with Somber Smithing Stones, which are a little bit faster than the standard Smithing Stones. We can grab some in Lernia. Before diving into the Raya Lucaria Crystal Tunnel, I jump to their grace on the top of the cliffs for Leyndell, save myself a little bit of time. Inside the tunnel, I fall down and die, then come back and fall down for Somber Stones. There are so many angry miners here that heavily resist slashing damage, and we can't charge up the Frenzied Flame against them because there's just too many of them. They're going to hit me before the spell comes out. So I make my way down, being smashed around like a fork in a garbage disposal. I even die when Leo won't backstab one of them for some reason. Thankfully, the boss at the bottom is easy, the Crystallian. It just requires you to break its stance once, and then it's pretty much just unlocked until you win. With a few upgrades, I think it's time we start getting paid. For that, it's time for the Abandoned Cave and its poopy floor. I quick step across and make my way down to the Clean Rot Knights. Avid watchers will remember that they're weak to fire, which should make this pretty easy. The second time, when I'm not impaled. They give up the Golden Scarab, which boosts rune acquisition by 20%. After dying to a boss weak to fire though, I think we need to get this fire a little hotter. There's a putrid avatar close by that's very weak to fire. Fire does like double the damage. So if I angle my Flame of Frenzy spell right, we can absolutely shred through its HP. Maybe the Frenzy Flame is good? Let's test them out on the definitive first boss of the game, Margit the Fell Omen. It's not dealing great damage, but maybe that's because I summoned Rajir. Summoning a buddy gives the boss more HP, but really it's because we don't have the Frenzied Flame Seal yet. Honestly, if I were to recommend using these spells, I would say just wait until you can get the seal, use other stuff until you get there. So yeah, died to Margit, but only once. Let's try getting some levels. After grabbing a few more Smithing Stone 2s from Lernia, I make my way back to the Grail area to fight another putrid avatar. The moves are the same as the one from earlier, it just does twice as much damage. So all I have to do is not get hit and I'll get over 100,000 runes. I die twice, but it's still worth it. This is basically like killing Margit 10 times. Some nice folks in the chat let me know there's a memory stone nearby which would let us memorize another spell. I died trying to get it, but only once. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Now that we have a more reasonable amount of health, let's storm Stormveil and handle Godric the Grafted. I decided to forget Nepheli this time. Fighting Margit with the extra health didn't work out great. My strategy here is to break his stance, then point the Flame of Frenzy at the ground. That makes each fiery tendril more likely to hit in front of you, and basically turns it into a fire shotgun. It freaking rules when you can get it to work. Further into the castle, there's a third Grape. I hope these don't need to be refrigerated. If we want to fight Radahn next, we need to go to Altus. We could get that other piece of the Dectus Medallion, but there's smithing stones in the Rune-strewn precipice, so let's do that. We've done it a lot, so hey, 2 Somber Stone 4s, lots of bats, who cares? Magma Worm time. The Magma Worm super resists fire, but it doesn't resist bleed. So put on the Blood Flame and enjoy the giant bleed proc and swing away. We even win with a big crit. It's pretty rad. This is the best strategy for things that resist fire. Hopefully nothing resists fire and bleed. Now we're in Altus. It's a beautiful place. Let's run directly into a cave and forget about that beautiful scenery. The Altus tunnel has a Somber Stone 5 and a bunch of miners who we can't escape from. We died again. It's fine. Not too many runes lost. I just want to upgrade the weapon in the casting seal before we fight Radahn, but I also want to upgrade the Chug Jug. There's 2 quick sacred tears in the Weeping Peninsula for that. Another tool for Radahn is the Frenzied Burst spell. It's a more direct and focused Frenzied Flame spell with a huge range and causes a minimal madness buildup. Charging it takes so long that the madness basically resets. We got maddened on the way there. It was super fun. Hopefully that doesn't happen again anytime soon. There's a nearby church with another sacred tier, but we get invaded and kicked off our motorcycle, and right after that we get maddened again. The invader is Vike, who has a frenzy spear and frenzy spells that are going to make us go mad again. In the middle of the fight, I'm not sure we're going to win, so I activate a Grace mid-duel for safety. Then I go mad again, and then I kill him. That was pretty rough, but at least we have a 4th Grape now, whatever those are for. Party time! Down in Caelid, we can start the party to go fight Radahn, except I forgot to equip the spell I wanted, so let's start the party again, then warp into the battleground. I summon a team of firefighters to help and mostly stay in the back with my huge laser eye fire attack. For phase 2, I got a little closer and used the Flame of Frenzy shotgunning technique. It's honestly not that bad. We're kind of over the hump for this run, for now. Since we have access to the royal capital, it's time to do Hyetta's quest, which is, it's a little bleak, so let's lighten it up with a song. Hyetta gets approached by a tarnished man, and she said to the man, as sad as she can, "Hey, got any grapes?" The man said, "No, there's just some eyes, and there's pus that makes them yellow-fied. No, right?" She said, "I'll bite." Then he waddled away, waddle waddle, to the very next grace, bum 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 bum. Hyetta gets approached by a tarnished man, and she said to the man, as sad as she can, "Hey, got any grapes?" The man said, "No, these are human eyeballs. They've been dead for days and they smell awful, so no?" She said, "Let's go." Then he waddled away, waddle waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle waddle, to the very next grace, bum 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 bum. Hyetta gets approached by a tarnished man, and she says to the man, as sad as she can, "Hey, got any grapes?" The man said, "Look, this is really gross. I have some pickled feet. Could you just eat those? Yikes." She said, "What about bikes?" Then he waddled away, waddle waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle waddle, to the very next grace, bum 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 bum. Then she ate Vike's eyes. Look, this is nasty. We fed a lady eyeballs to get fire spells. There's not really a nice way to say it. Let's go make a friend to make us feel better. I'll be yours, you'll be mine, we'll be fire. Technically, we already have the friend, so let's get some stuff for later. First step is taking out Mohg in Lernia. He's a blue flavor dragon, which means big magic breath. Since the area is so thoroughly sprinkled with teardrop scarabs, sometimes that big magic breath resets our magic flasks. That lets me get super aggressive with the Frenzied Burst, targeting the head specifically for extra damage. This is a really well-designed boss arena. I kinda wish that they would do it again, but with like a harder boss with way more HP. I think that'd be really cool. The finale is very cool. I get to end things shooting a laser while it's shooting a laser at me, but since my laser hit it first, its laser doesn't deal damage anymore. It's sick. Make a quick mental note that this dragon is dead. It is going to be incredibly important later. Next thing I want is Radagon's icon, which makes your spells come out faster. To get that, we have to go through Raya Lucaria, which is great since the key is right next to Mohg. That's not actually the thing we super needed, but I guess 2 things we needed from Mohg. On the way to the boss, a zombie bites my pelvis. Then it's Red Wolf time. I kinda love this boss. It's got no HP whatsoever, but it hits like a truck and jumps all around. While that means we only need to get in a few hits, the last one just isn't landing. This furry friendo won't stop hopping around. Eventually, I get it, but it's way closer than it should have been. With that done, we can run up the side of the building and claim our prize, Radagon's icon. Now we'll start Ranni's quest to get the weed we need to level up Gallo. So we need to meet Ranni. First step. Caria Manor is just as fun as ever. Run around, avoid the hands that are everywhere. We fight Loretta's ghost at the top, and it's a little tricky to get the Frenzied Flame spells off, maybe because I didn't put on Radagon's icon. So instead I just break her stance with the sword, then point the Flame of Frenzy shotgun at her horse's hooves. They share a health bar, so I'm assuming it's a centaur situation. Her legs are fake on the side of the horse like a Halloween costume. Ranni gave us permission mission to open the chest in Nokron, so that's where we go. Right down the big hole that Radahn made, and we fight the Mimic here. It's so nice to finally have a boss that can be afflicted with madness. It's annoying that these spells affect the caster and basically don't work on any bosses. But the easiest boss in the game, yeah, it helps us out there. Though I actually make myself go mad, so this is the most damage I've ever taken in the Mimic fight. Never mind. We've done this a lot, and it's the same route every time. So, down to Nokron, Finger Slaying Blade, trade it for the Carrion Statue, flip the Study Hall upside down, Curse Mark of Death, warp to Noxtella, grab the Glovewort Bell Bearing, 2 Somber Stones, 2 Gloveworts, and level up Gallo. That took 45 minutes in the game, took like 10 seconds here. Let's show him off against the Draconic Tree Sentinel. Unfortunately, he doesn't have ice like Gallo, but he does have wind and a big stick. He's also dumb as bricks, but more on that later. Our new game plan is to have Gallo get up front and tank the damage while we spam big fire from the distance. It works great until Gallo dies, and then I have to finish off the Draconic Tree Sentinel with my sword. Speaking of sword, Ritual Sword, Talisman. It boosts your damage by 10% when you're at full HP. You just have to kill Gilka. Gilka has the HP of a wet napkin. It's really easy. Our final puzzle piece before heading into the capital is the Godfrey icon, which boosts the damage of charged spells, and we get it from killing Godfrey. He's basically Godric, but you can't summon, and honestly, it wasn't going great. The damage wasn't coming out like I wanted to, so I changed up my strategy and started using the Flame of the Redmanes for stance breaks, then I shotgunned the toes with the Flame of Frenzy.
Yes, we are going to use Flame of the Redmanes, but not very much. We're going to actually try not to use it a whole lot.
Okay, so I lied. Not intentionally. I was planning on avoiding it, but it's in my inventory, so like, why not use it? And now that Leo and Gallo are all maxed out, we can head into the capital and hook up with a few more people.
Am I throwing you off?
Nope.
Didn't think so.
How you doing, young lady?
Let's go to Promepolis. Sorry that the source material references have been few and far between. This is just by far the shortest source material I've had to work with. Think of this as a sequel game that has all new characters. We're taking a slightly different route through the city this time, mostly just going to grab a seedbed curse. That's a little gift for a man who eats poop. The sequel game made some interesting choices for their new characters. Then back to the regularly scheduled capital. Kill the avatar for the Lord's Rune and skip up the Ritual Shield Talisman, which boosts your defense by 10% when you're at full HP. Godcrade the Governor's Ghost is fun. It's a bit of a stretch to get more Promare lore into the script, but yeah, it's fun. Gallo gets distracted by the enemies outside the arena. He's kind of a himbo. So the first half of the fight, we're on our own. After he figures out who the threat is, he's very helpful though. Keep your distance against the guy who doesn't have ranged attacks is a good strat. Who could have guessed? There's a Black Knife Assassin on the way up to Morgott, actually the only one we've fought in this run, so enjoy that. I decided not to summon Melina for Morgott because he could hurt her, and she's her very best friend. I definitely didn't just forget to. That does mean that he'll have a little less HP though, which will make our D look bigger in terms of DPS. I still get impaled, but only once. Gallo is able to tank aggro enough for Morgott to go down easy. The Erdtree is blocked off and Melina wants to burn it down. But there's a problem. I know the only way to burn down the Erdtree involves Melina setting herself on fire, and that would kill her. She's my best friend. I can't have that. I would do anything to stop that. I'd team up with anyone. It's a channel first. Let's head to the sewer. The Subterranean Shunning-Grounds is my least favorite area in the game. It's a maddening labyrinth with enemies that I'm pretty sure are scaled for endgame. Their damage and HP is absurd. Not as absurd as a character named the Loathsome Dung Eater. Definitely not as absurd as teaming up with a character named the Loathsome Dung Eater.
You had me up against the wall. What was I supposed to do? Not eat a poopy!
I need a second to think about whether or not it's worth it. So I go kill an Erdtree avatar quick. It gives us a physic tier to boost the magic damage by 20%. Not fire damage, magic damage. And we don't have a magic damage spell, so why do that? Because it's better than the sewer in the monster hands. They're supposed to be weak to fire, but it's not actually enough because, I don't know, I guess the hands are too strong. That makes sense actually. If 2 fingers are a god, these guys have like 12. I make my way back and I free the poop man. I still can't beat Izzy hands though, so even though I'm poisoned, I just try and progress. Running through the tunnels without a lantern is a bad idea. You're either going to get lost or get ganked by an enemy. There's even an omen with a giant machete that can vomit laser fire at you while you have to climb a ladder. Getting to the shortcut while dealing with poison and all that stuff is something only a pro gamer could do. But I am a pro gamer, technically speaking. I've been paid to play video games, that's the definition. Part 2 of the sewers is the gargoyle era. Run on pipes, make a big jump, go inside a pipe, follow a mouse, miss it with your attacks, ride down an elevator, and then it's time to fight Mohg. This isn't the same Mohg from the Thor run. That one has 80% fire resistance and 290 bleed resistance. It would be really hard for a build that can only do fire and bleed. No, the one in the sewer has 94% fire resistance and is fully immune to every status effect. Hey, Elden Ring, why is the Frenzied Flame Seal locked behind a boss that's virtually immune to fire? What am I supposed to do? We'll go back and pick up a dragon spell, of course. Remember Smaragd? Killing him let us buy Smaragd's Glintstone Breath, which turns our face into a dragon that sprays blue fire. Leophodia can do that. It's a build that can use a dragon spell, hell yeah! So, let's go fight Mohg with the help of the Dung Eater and Gallo. Another notable difference between Mohg and this one has about a third less HP, and deals way less damage. 2 tanks makes it easy for us to DPS by turning into a dragon and spending our entire magic bar with every casting of the Glintstone Breath. It's so freaking sick and such a fun way to fight this boss. It actually kind of feels like it's worth the pain of the sewers. Killing Mohg opens up the path to a bunch of merchants who wandered too close to the Frenzied Flame and went mad, except for this one dude playing guitar. Hell yeah, man. Playing guitar in the face of certain death is my favorite thing characters do in media I've consumed this year. We need to go down, and going down is incredibly precise. I recommend following the white signs, since the players who left them are alive. The red blots are people who died. I actually make my way down pretty safely and grab the Inescapable Frenzy spell, which will literally only work on one remaining boss. Boy, these spells are not the best, but conquering gravity feels good. Hyetta's at the basement. Did she beat Mohg too? She says we have to get naked before accepting 3 fingers in this spooky hole. They've got a very hot grip, and then we come out and she wants us to touch her. Leo's getting around. As long as everyone's having fun though, I think that's neat. Hyetta seems like she's having fun until she burns to death and drops the Frenzied Flame Seal, which boosts the Frenzied Flame spells and scales with Strength, Dexterity, Intelligence, and Faith. Scaling with 4 stats eventually will make it really, really good. And Melina doesn't need to burn herself at the Forge of the Giants now. Unfortunately, she doesn't like that. She was ready to die and knows that the Promare we signed up are gonna burn the world down. Friendship ended with Leo. Now Dust and Death is my best friend. We're able to instantly get our new seal up to +9, then ride up to the Mountaintop of the Giants with a key we get from our former best friend. I don't even care. Smithing Stone Bell Bearing 3, we need it for the sword. There's basically just a lot of riding, though I stop at the First Church of America for another sacred tear and an ancient dragon smithing stone from inside a giant skeleton. Also, there's a tree sentinel that can clone itself that just doubles its hurt box, so the huge Flame of Frenzy hitbox destroys it. Hilarious, we just did that for a bunch of runes. Kray's Promare Fire Giant isn't all that hard. Sure, it resists fire, but unlike Sewer Mohg, it's not immune to bleed. So Bloodflame Blade will have us popping bleed over and over again while Gallo chips away at his toes. We even get a big meaty eye stab crit in phase 2. Y'all should know I love crit in the Fire Giant, even if it doesn't actually do that much damage. The real danger of the Mountaintop of the Giants is Castle Soul. Our first death comes from the Lions, since Gallo decided to aggro the second one. He is really not smart, but he's nice and handsome. Gotta keep him around. I end up in a healing spiral upstairs with the ballistas, which doesn't kill me, but leaves me low on flasks. The bird outside kills me. Hey FromSoft, why does one laser kill a wolf but not a bird? Do you watch Tear Zoo? Birds have less health than wolves. I take out the rest of the enemies slow and steady before opening up the shortcut. I don't want to die in this castle again. That's called foreshadowing. Niall is a struggle. First death came from underestimating one of his summons, who full-on Beyblades me into the Shadow Realm. Where do the loser Beyblades go? What were the stakes for Beyblade? Do they go to the Shadow Realm? I didn't watch it. Next time, I just can't handle Niall's speed and hitboxes. He's really fast and has giant blasts of cold and lightning. Third death was... I don't want to talk about that one. Fourth death, I got so close to killing him, but the download was complete. The strategy starts by killing his 2 summons, Sword Blender and Shield Boy. Killing Niall's summons makes him more aggressive, but since they can kill me in a single combo, I want to be able to focus on one person. Then we spam Flame of the Redmanes to break his stance and shotgun the Frenzied Flame at his toes. It's not new, but it is effective. That opens up to a chest that opens up to a Erdtree medallion piece. The other is back in Lernia. You don't have to kill the perfumer, but if you don't, they might attack you while you chat up the old man. He gives us the other medallion. Time for cold. The snowfield lives up to its name by being snowy. It's so snowy, you can't see. That also inspires cannibalism. Snow can do that. Anastasia is a tarnished, which means she actually can be afflicted by madness. It's so satisfying to finally use it. She drops an ancient somber dragon smithing stone we can use to cap off the casting seal, once I remember to do that. Even though we're here for the last Frenzied Flame spell, there's a putrid avatar and a magma worm we can kill for an absurd amount of runes. I don't really like the Consecrated Snowfield because it's a hub area that spins off into cooler areas but doesn't really have its own identity because of the hub world status. They just kind of drop some bosses here that are also in other areas and then scale the damage and HP up. Putrid Avatar gets roasted by the Frenzied Flame though, that's pretty satisfying. The final spell we need is Unendurable Frenzy, so we need to bait a troll into breaking down the wall to get it. We won't use it until the final boss, but hey, stick around for that, it's going to be very, very cool. Almost as cool as setting yourself on fire and jumping into a volcano. Let's burn the world down, gamers. I don't know why becoming fire makes you go to Farum Azula, but we just run through the area and stop the common section Grace, but max out the seal before we go do the Godskin duo fight. Obviously, I summoned Burnal. The Mohg fight taught me that the only thing better than spamming DPS while someone else tanks up close is spamming DPS while two people tank up close. And boy, Burnal's a great tank. He literally jumps in front of a fireball. Gallo, take notes. It's a pretty smooth fight. I don't want to get cocky. Malekith and the Elden Beast are coming up next. We're not out of the woods yet. So I jump onto the rooftops Grace. I barely made it past this beastman. For some reason he jammed through my sword's block. I'll take my revenge on some sleeping beastmen nearby. It's much better to just snipe them through the door than have them jump you while you open the chest. The chest contains the Old Lord's Talisman, which will make Flame Grant Me Strength last 39 seconds instead of 30. The Draconic Tree Sentinel is more of a speed bump at this point. I've gotten really good at dodging him. I'm not sure if these high tier builds lately are actually better than the first ones I did, or if I'm just beating the game twice a week and that makes me better. Next week I'll suffer. Don't worry. Draconic 3 Sentinel, dead. Malekith time. This boss scares the poop out of me. He's fast in both phases. However, his stance is broken in only 3 Redmane flames. Could I just break his stance? Yeah, once, twice, thrice, fourth, and fifth. Okay, that was really easy, but I'm actually kind of worried about Gideon. I know, it's Gideon, but casters struggle since they don't interrupt his casting well, which means you're gonna have to really dodge his spells and time your castings. Basically becomes like a turn-based dance battle. Killing Malekith lets us buy his armor, so we finally have the proper drip. Maybe that can carry us. And maybe this spell, Inescapable Frenzy, will. I haven't tried it yet. I wonder what it does. Gideon is waiting and monologuing. God, I hope I can handle him.
My first kiss went a little like this, and twist, and twist.
Yeah, so if you don't like Gideon, get Inescapable Frenzy. It only works on Tarnished, so no other bosses can get the Promare vomited directly into their eyes, but the biggest dick in the game, yeah, 2 grabs and he's dead. And speaking of being grabbed to death, Grape has a ton of command grabs. If I'm not at full HP, they'll probably kill me. But I wonder, could I stance break him? Once, twice, thrice, and 4 is... Remember how I said that the early game of a Frenzy run, you should just use other stuff? Well, once you have the seal and all the equipment, it's amazing. Just stun bosses and shotgun their toes. The majority of our deaths actually came before the Royal Capital. Wild. Before the final boss, I scoop up Godric's Great Rune for +5 to all my stats. Remember how the Frenzied Flame Seal scales with 4 stats? That means 20 levels of damage, 5 more levels of HP, 5 more levels of magic and frenzy resistance, 5 levels of stamina, and 5 levels of holy resistance. Oh, also the Malekith set heavily resists holy. Radagon gets his stance broken twice and dies pretty uneventfully. Then the Elden Beast also gets stance broken, but I fumbled my spells and didn't end up getting to the spell I wanted to. The next time though, I don't fumble, and I unleash another single-use spell, Unendurable Frenzy. You walk forward, spraying flame tendrils until your magic runs out, then actually just spray a bit more. It does almost a third of the Elden Beast's health. That's like 7,000 damage. Holy God. One more stance break and we can finish it off at 7 hours 24 minutes in game time. But it's actually closer to 7 hours. I left the console running for a half an hour accidentally after the first streak. 32 bosses, 21 deaths. That's another S tier, slightly ahead of Alucard. Like I said, this gets better in the end, even with the rocky start in the beginning. Breaking stance is great and takes more advantage of the stun with the Flame Toe Shotgun. Don't worry though, if you think I've had it too easy with all these S and A tier builds lately, I have a real stinker coming up next. It's something I'm doing specifically because I want to use some of the worst spells in Elden Ring. I'm in the middle of the run on Twitch right now, so follow me there to watch it live and sub to my other channel if you like Dungeons & Dragons. I build characters in that game too.